So tell us about George H.W. N.W.O. Bush.
Absolutely, Ethan. This guy has had his hands dirty since day one, okay?
What day was that?
1953.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say when he was a gleam in Prescott Bush's eye.
Well, in 1953, Bush Sr. set up Zapata Oil along with business partners John Overby, Hugh Liedtke, Bill Liedtke, and Thomas J. Devine. So this is like basically giving you background information to let you know that Bush Sr. is involved with a lot of powerful oil tycoons.
Okay.
And how that ties into JFK's assassination. A book called Family of Secrets, written by Russ Baker, which is all about, all the Bush's clandestine connections. It highlights the concern of George Bush and this team of oil tycoons with oil depletion allowance, a hugely profitable government measure which JFK's successor protected. So there's some, I guess, implications that there would be motivation for George Bush to kill JFK on behalf of these oil tycoons, and he's already a member of the CIA at this point.
Wait, so why would you kill JFK? You could just pay him off.
No, because JFK was like going against all that stuff. He was anti-CIA. He was anti-Federal Reserve. A lot of the more entrenched institutions that make up the deep state found themselves to be on JFK's shit list, But JFK really did say, "I will shatter the CIA to 1,000 splinters," or something along those lines. So
seems unwise in retrospect.
Well, it actually worked out all great for the cabal, as they're called. Have you ever heard of the Parrott Memo, Ethan?
Okay, John. No. Are we going into some behold a pale horse territory here?
Yeah, we are, dipshit. Buckle up,
John.
Okay?
If you bring up the Trilateral Commission. No
Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral Commission are chumps compared to these guys, Ethan.
Okay.
No, the Parrott Memo is a declassified memo sent by George H.W. Bush on the day of the JFK assassination. The memo suggests that he heard James Parrott had been talking about killing JFK. And this is like a true declassified memo. It's not really clear what the intention was here, but it kind of seemed like it was a limited hangout, that the CIA was supplying this information to the FBI so as to give them a false trail of breadcrumbs, and nothing ever became of it. But it's just this odd thing that exists in history of George H.W. Bush as a member of the CIA coming to the FBI and saying that he heard this right-wing guy, James Parrott, talking about killing JFK and that he thinks he did it.
Okay.
Now,
sounds like nothing to me. That's fat nothing burger, John.
This is all just background information to help you understand the Watergate coup.
Okay.
Mark Gorton describes Watergate not as what you claim it is, Ethan. Great journalist Bob Woodward, doing hard hitting
and Carl
research.
Bernstein. Let's not forget him,
of course. Echo and to expose Nixon as being this dangerous criminal who threatens American democracy. False, Ethan. Nixon.
You're saying Nixon was good?
Yes, Nixon was good. Nixon was fighting the cabal, much in the same way that Trump today is fighting the deep state. Okay.
Okay.
Nixon.
I agree that Trump is the Nixon of today. I agree with you.
Exactly, Ethan, and how right you are.
I feel like I'm agreeing with reactionaries for the wrong reason.
But Nixon originally was put in power by the cabal because they thought because the cabal killed JFK obviously for numerous reasons. The oil reason being one of them, and so they put
anti-Catholicism.
Yeah, sure.
Anti-Irish.
They are all WASPs, so that's true.
And they were jealous of his facility with getting the ladies.
They wanted to fuck Marilyn Monroe. That's what this was all about.
I feel like probably. By the way, that's actually really deep down what it was about Oswald.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, he was an incel. He was jealous.
Classic.
Classic. Oh, I don't know. I made that up.
Seen that coming.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Chad JFK. You don't get to fuck all the Stacys with nothing bad happening to you.
Wow. Holy shit, John. I think he really did act alone now.
But so Nixon was put in power by the cabal because they figured since he ran against JFK that he would be easier to control. And then Nixon started opposing the cabal, and he was going to drain the swamp the way Trump is trying to now. Yeah. And he was going to basically cut all these people out from their administration jobs. And before that could happen, the cabal staged Watergate.
Wow.
I'm going to read you what Mark Gorton wrote about the Watergate coup. The traditional story of Watergate is one where Nixon does a bunch of bad things, gets caught, tries to cover it up, and is forced to resign. However, in reality, Watergate was a plot by the cabal behind the coup of '63 and corrupt elements within the CIA and military intelligence to depose Nixon.
What about all those tapes of Nixon plotting?
Excuse me, Ethan. Don't interrupt.
Okay.
By 1973, the original leaders of the cabal were dying off. Allen Dulles died in 1969, J. Edgar Hoover in 1972, and LBJ in 1973. The death of their leaders created a power vacuum at the top of the cabal. And as the cabal was fighting off threats from the outside world, an internal battle was taking place for control and ultimately the control of power in America. Three factions fought for power: a network of old boys from the OSS, which is the Office of Strategic Services, a World War II precursor to the CIA, a group within the Office of Naval Intelligence, and a group within the CIA led by George H.W. Bush. The Watergate coup served several purposes, but perhaps its most lasting impact was to ensconce H.W. Bush as the new head of the cabal. George H.W. Bush's father was Prescott Bush, who was the best friend of Allen Dulles. Dulles dominated the CIA from 1953 until he was fired by JFK in the wake of the Bay of Pigs disaster. Like his father, George H.W. Bush was a graduate of Yale and a member of Skull and Bones. In a world where connections and pedigree mattered, George H.W. Bush was the crown prince within the CIA.
Wow. Wow, you blew it wide open, John. I don't know. George Bush was in the CIA, obviously.
Yeah, he was in the CIA.
That doesn't make Richard Nixon innocent.
Ethan, are you missing the fact here that JFK fired Allen Dulles after the Bay of Pigs fiasco, and then as George H.W. Bush was promoted in the CIA, JFK got killed? You're not connecting the dots here, buddy.
Okay, wait. Okay. And then when Flynn was fired by Obama, Trump appointed him as national security advisor.
Exactly.
And then Mueller killed him.
To execute the disinformation campaign surrounding Watergate, the Watergate coup plotters turned to ex-naval intelligence officer and FBI asset Bob Woodward, who had been inserted into the Washington Post.
Really?
Woodward then proceeded to craft a series of stories that make up much of the public story of Watergate. He was informed by Deputy Director of the FBI, William Mark Felt Sr., whose name was only revealed 33 years later in 2005.
Yep, deep throat.
Need I go on, Ethan?
Well, you just asserted that that Bob Woodward was a CIA asset or FBI asset.
Well, he was.
There's no evidence.
What are you talking about? He was informed by the Deputy Director of the FBI.
Oh yeah, Mark Felt was inside, but he was a source. That doesn't make him an asset.
Oh, Ethan, so naive.
Oh, wait. So you're saying that Felt was working on behalf of the aims of the FBI. He wasn't ratting out Nixon.
Dodoy, Ethan. What do you think here? Okay.
Okay. I feel so stupid.
Thank you. God. Okay, so look, after the cabal, led by George H.W. Bush, gets rid of Nixon, and they put in Gerald Ford, okay?
Hang on a second. I'm going to need a bulletin board and some yarn.
What you're going to need, Ethan, is to shut the fuck up, okay?
Proceed.
Try and put your thinking cap on for once.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay?
John, why does my thinking cap always have to have a hood, okay?
and I'm tired of you talking about your thinking dildo. It's not the same thing, okay?
It helps me concentrate.
In 1976, Gerald Ford brought Bush back to Washington to become the Director of Central Intelligence, replacing William Colby. At that time, he was not recognized as a lifelong intelligence operative. Gorton summarizes his brief but effective role in office as follows. Despite his decades-long involvement as a deep CIA insider, Bush was falsely brought in as an outsider who could reform the CIA. Bush's real job was to staunch the flow of secrets out of the CIA and prevent the exposure of truly explosive evil truths of the now multiple coups d'etat executed by the CIA.
You know, I just thought of something. Everyone was criticizing George Bush this week for ignoring the AIDS crisis.
Yes.
But maybe he was just paying back his CIA cronies for inventing AIDS.
Now you're starting to realize it, Ethan.
I'm connecting the dots? Okay.
Finally, you're starting to think like an American.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. In 1980, the October surprise was a secret deal to prevent the re-election of Jimmy Carter. In 1992, this was purportedly investigated by the House October Surprise Task Force, headed by Lee Hamilton. Hamilton, who was later to chair both the House Select Committee to investigate covert arms transactions with Iran and the 9/11 Commission. So this is a true thing. Lee Hamilton was a congressman who was on the 9/11 Commission. He was on the House Select Committee to investigate the Iran-Contra program, and he's the one who was supposed to investigate George H.W. Bush for trying to thwart for using CIA assets to try and thwart Jimmy Carter's re-election.
Wait, so I thought it was George Bush Jr. that did 9/11. You're saying it was Senior?
What? No. Well, yeah, actually, I am saying that.
I mean,
George
by removal. Yeah, by a few degrees.
Yes. Well, not even by a few degrees, Ethan. I've got a great quote here. Let me find it. I mean, this is further down. I was trying to go chronologically, but here we go. On 9/11. This is what Mark Gorton infers from a range of evidence that George H.W. Bush was most likely the key organizer of the 9/11 attacks. Quote,
holy shit, I was just kidding.
Listen, Ethan, I have seen no evidence directly linking George H.W. and then in parentheses, Poppy Bush, directly to the 9/11 attacks. But just as physicists can detect the presence of a black hole by the actions of other bodies around it, so the massive force of George H.W. Bush in the 9/11 op can be inferred. Many people extremely close to Poppy Bush were actively involved in the 9/11 op, including his eldest son, George W. Bush, his youngest son, Marvin Bush, Dick Cheney.
There's
Donald
a Marvin?
I didn't know that either. How deep does this rabbit hole go, Ethan?
I think it's even his cousin, Leonard Bush. And wait, John, but wait a minute. So now you're saying that the Bushes did 9/11, but just earlier you were saying that it was the Jews.
Here's the thing. The Bushes and the Jews worked hand in hand, Ethan.
Okay.
Is that so shocking?
I mean, I just won't believe it, John. You know, he was, as the media pointed out this week, he was just such a refined gentleman. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Ethan.
You could never do that. Wait. Wouldn't 9/11 hurt H.W. Bush's interests in the financial sector?
No, not at all.
Okay. Why not?
Anything else?
Okay. Well, the answer was short, at least. Okay. Didn't take up a lot of time on the podcast. That's good. Okay.
Well, Ethan, George H.W. Bush had other financial interests, okay? Which brings us to the Enterprise.
Like Captain
Mark
Kirk?
Gordon, no, Ethan. It's not going to be socialist bullshit, okay?
Was Gene Roddenberry a socialist?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was.
I thought he was like very pro-America, though.
Well, Star Trek is beloved by socialists, so I'm just going to assume he was a commie Jew.
I see. Okay, Jesus Christ, John. We had Vanessa on. Everything was so nice, and then there you go with the casual anti-Semitism.
Well, Ethan, I'm sorry that you think my tone is casual here, but it is dire.
There you go with the alarmist anti-Semitism, John. Like I said.
Mark Gorton claims that George H.W. Bush, quote, set out to build a criminal organization without parallel in U.S. history, which Gorton refers to as the Enterprise, a name given to it by Iran-Contra conspirator General Richard Secord. The Enterprise was a massive 5,000-person, large, hierarchical criminal organization with George H.W. Bush as its CEO. The Enterprise was a multifaceted criminal conglomerate that ran a large number of criminal activities, including drug trafficking, arms trafficking, savings and loan fraud, securities fraud, oil and gas fraud, insurance fraud, and real estate fraud. Boy, it really does sound like the Trump family.
I was going to say, if the Trumps were competent.
Embedded within the national security infrastructure and protected from prosecution by corrupted enforcement agencies like the SEC, FBI, DEA, ATF, etc., the Enterprise embarked on a massive criminal romp.
Okay.
George H.W. Bush was in charge of the adjustments to savings and loans laws in the U.S., which kicked off the savings and loan fraud scandal in the late 80s and early 90s.
Charles Keating, yeah.
Neil Bush and Jeb Bush were also involved. Pete Bruton states that this scheme was a swindle with profits measured in hundreds of billions of dollars, and that the profits from this scheme were used as seed funding for the arms/drug deals referred to as Iran-Contra.
Okay. Yeah. Wait, so they're saying that the drug deals... I thought the drug deals with Iran-Contra were just... That was just a way for the CIA to generate revenue so that they could, do their dirty wars and stuff.
Yes, Ethan. This is seed money to make Iran-Contra happen.
But wait, is the point of this to make the Bush family rich? Or is the point of it to, fund the CIA's, covert operations?
It's both. The CIA is under control of HW, who at this point is vice president of the United States,
I just feel like there's probably easier ways for them to make money when they're vice president of the United States than dealing drugs.
Easier, sure, Ethan, but are there less evil ways? Probably not. Maybe they could talk to Soros about that.
Well, you say drug dealing is good. It's pure anarcho-capitalism.
No, I've never said that. I've never said that drug dealing is pure anarcho-capitalism.
You always said that the cartels are our greatest allies and friends.
Oh, God, Ethan. Well, let's get on to the goddamn Iran-Contra, shall we?
All right.
Iran-Contra was a limited hangout of some of the CIA's off-the-books drugs for weapons swaps that illegally sent arms to the Nicaraguan Contras. Bush may have intended to topple Ronald Reagan through this limited hangout, but Reagan was defended by staff such as Edwin Meese, who were loyal to him rather than the U.S. deep state.
I like how you can pronounce Nicaraguan, but you can't pronounce Alan Dulles' name properly. Anyway.
Yeah, well, who cares?
Okay.
Sounds like a French name.
Probably.
The 1987 House Select Committee to investigate covert arms transactions with Iran Yes, I don't know why they put this information in here twice, but was chaired by the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Lee Hamilton, and chose to investigate neither Bush Sr. nor Ronald Reagan on this Iran-Contra scandal.
Yeah, Oliver North went up there and he took the hit for it, right?
Yes, he did. And Bush Sr. infamously, claimed to be out of the loop for the whole process, which I find I don't know. It feels like to me that George H.W. Bush was Ronald Reagan's Dick Cheney, like Ronald Reagan was this, he could smile and he could tell a joke and he could wave and everyone loved him and shit. And then meanwhile, you had this deep state embedded asshole pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Actually, that seems like a pretty good analogy, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And then his son turns into his son is Reagan.
Yeah, exactly. And then his son is Reagan instead of Dick Cheney. That's hilarious.
Right. And he's like, well, I can't wait till Jeb grows up. He's going to be just like me, pulling the strings from behind the scenes. He's like, no, you can't see the whole picture, George. Your son, actually your other son. He'd be the perfect Reagan. He just needs one of you standing behind him. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ethan, now do you see the full scale of his New World Order criminal enterprises?
What's this New World Order that he's trying to bring about? Did it work? Are we living in it?
No, it didn't work thanks to the 2016 presidential elections.
Wait, so in one fell swoop, that destroyed all of his life's work?
Libs are owned pretty easily, aren't they, Ethan?
I don't think he was a liberal, first of all. I mean, sworn enemy of the liberals, as far as I know. Although these days, liberals sure are sucking his dick right after he died.
Yeah, seriously. His rancid cock. But, yeah, no, the New World Order, it was because he gave this speech where he said there will be a New World Order where the UN will serve as a peacekeeping unit and it will bring this age of, new international relationships through the UN.
Well, it was the end of the Cold War.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was. At the time, no one ever took it to mean anything like that. But after 9/11, people went back and looked at that speech and he's like, oh, my God, he said New World Order,
So stupid.
I know. The New World Order stuff is stupid, especially when, the fact that he helped kill JFK is staring you right in the face.
I'm perfectly willing to buy all the stuff about Iran-Contra, and he knew more than he was saying, and probably, if he was not in the position that he was in, he could have been convicted of serious crimes for that.
Oh, wow, how gracious of you, Ethan.
But the idea that he secretly planned 9/11 and or Nixon's the Watergate thing.
The Watergate coup, as it's called.
That seems ridiculous. He's like, yeah, let's get Johnson in there, a Democrat.
Who is easily manipulated, Ethan, and who made him director of the CIA.
I still think partisanship is stronger than any other force.
Well, what a fool you are.